what's going on, beautiful jellyfish? It's Tracy. Thank you so much for taking a little bit of time today to hang out with me. I really appreciate it. In today's video, I'm going to be doing a deck tech on my newest deck. I believe this is Aesi. Please let me know if I'm saying that wrong. But anyways, this deck is so incredibly cool. I really like it. Basically, my thought is at first, to be honest with you guys, I didn't spend a single dime on this deck. A lot of these were things that I already had. I built the deck, played it. It was already really, really good from cards that I had. I had a ton of green-blue staples. I have since now invested and gotten a couple of key pieces in the deck that make it run a lot better, but the deck in and of itself is already really, really strong without it. I pretty much, like I said, just took a lot of good Simic cards that I had and just threw them in here. I really, really like this deck. It's one of my most powerful ones because you basically play this card and sometimes you get like 4, 5, 6 land drops and then you just draw that many cards. It is absolutely nutty. I'm actually laughed a little bit because on Tapped Out, which the deck will be listed on Tapped Out, it actually lists this deck as more casual than competitive, and it's not. It's very competitive. It's very, very cool. Once this deck gets going, it's really, really hard to like stop it because you just draw so many cards. It does not have any infinite combos in it. Maybe that's why it knocks it down a couple points. It doesn't have any infinite combos. We'll talk about the win conditions and you'll kind of see them. I didn't want to make this deck have infinite combos because that's what I have Grand Arbiter for. That's what I have Riku for. Like, I have decks that do that and I do enjoy doing that from time to time. I wanted this deck to be more big things. So let's just jump into it. This card is great. Playing additional land. Whenever land DTBs, you can draw a card. Card's awesome. Okay, lands. Like I said, the deck will be listed in the number below. We have, let's see, 12? 12 of these or 13 of these? Hold up. We've got 12 islands. I'm sorry, 13 forests. I don't know why I just called these islands. And then I have, oh my gosh, 12 islands. I don't know why I am struggling so hard with this today. Let's talk about lands. So I actually only have 36 in this deck. I do want to up the number by maybe running like 1 or 2 more. And let's first start talking about basics. I have 13 islands. This one's one of my favorites, the Shards of Alara one. And then I have 11 islands. Now let's talk about specialty lands. So first up, we have Alchemist's Refuge because I love Flash. We love that for us. And then I have, this stunning Breeding Pool edition. I absolutely love these. They're so incredibly pretty. I have one of these, I forgot what these sorts of lands are called. I don't know, but I really like these because they ETB and then you get like a double land trigger off of this and you gain a life, which is really cool. I have Command Tower because of course we do. Field of Ruin because I like to have at least one land destruction card in all of my commander decks for a little bit of protection. Misty Rainforest. Myriad Landscape. I have, I don't know what these lands are called, but I really like them. The one there, if you enter the battlefield tap unless you have 2 or more opponents, I do really enjoy these lands a lot. Reliquary Tower because we are going to be drawing a ton of cards, as you're going to see. I don't have a ton of the, like, you draw X cards because my commander does that for me, you know? I have Temple of Mystery. And the last one that I have is Waterlogged Grove. I don't have Terramorphic and the other one in here. I actually want this deck to be more heavy around basics, and you're gonna notice that in the deck. So a couple of these, like this one, these are probably gonna come out. I'm probably just gonna replace them with basics, to be honest with you guys. Also, my basics don't enter the battlefield tapped, which is really nice. So I'll probably keep in definitely a couple of these. Like I want to keep these and I want to get this one in foil because I love this art so much. Myriad Landscape I'll keep. Misty I'll keep. Like a bunch of these I will keep, but like these, for example, I'll probably just exchange those out, you know. Okay, let's talk about enchantments. I only actually have 3. The first one is actually a new to me card, and that is Court of Bounty. I think this whole cycle of cards are actually really cool. ETBs, you become the monarch. There's no other monarch things. This is the only thing. But at the beginning of your upkeep, you may put a land. But if you're the monarch, you can put a creature or a land. What I really like about this is that I don't have a ton of creatures in this deck. Actually, I only have 21. But what I really like about this is that I can basically just another way for me to get access to another land. Or if I have a creature, like I said, I can just play a creature for free. This card's awesome. Dissipation Field's probably a card that's going to come out. I had this leftover from when I built Tamishi, and I guess it just didn't make the cut in Grand Arbiter, so it found its way in here. That's not to say that I dislike this card by any means. It's a little bit of protection. I just don't really think it fits totally the theme. It's definitely going to come out. I just need something else. With that being said, I do really enjoy Dissipation Field. It just doesn't really mesh with the theme. And last enchantment that I have is Exploration, because I want to be able to play additional lands so that I can draw more cards. And this one is really pretty. This is the double masters, I think. Okay, let's talk about artifacts. We're going to kind of race through these because there's not really a ton exciting things to say. Chromatic Lantern. Dark Steel Plate, because I want ways to protect my commander. We'll talk about more of those in a second. Then I have Expedition Map. What I like about this one is it gets me any land, which I really like. Lightning Greaves, and of course, we gotta have our Swiftfoot Boots in there. Of course we do. We need to protect our commander. Perilous Vault. It's my favorite board wipe, so of course. I have Soul Ring. Not a lot to say there. Whisper Silk Cloak, because it gives my commander Shroud and gives it unblockable, which we love. And the last one I have is Thought Vessel, because I need that no maximum hand size, because we're drawing a lot of cards here. And it adds a colorless to your pool, which we love. Okay, let's talk about our instants and our sorceries. Oh, there were 9 artifacts, just in case I did not mention that. Let's talk about our instants first. I have 15. The first one I have is Aetherize. I think this card is extremely underutilized in Commander, and I think it's very, very strong. Someone goes out for an all-out attack. You return all those attacking creatures to their hand. I have blown people out of the water with this card. It's great. Beast Within, really, really simple, instant speed removal. I like it because it's literally anything, well, it's any permanent, so you're removing your planeswalkers, this is your creature removal, this is your artifact enchantment, land destruction, love it. Necessity. I honestly just had this card laying around, and I was like, I have to put it in something. So I'm running it in here. Biomass Mutation, I love this card. It's hilarious. I killed people the other day with it. I was like, all my cards are now 10/10s or whatever it was that they were. This card is honestly absolutely hilarious. It's great, and it's an instant speed, which I really like about it. So you can play this, someone doesn't declare blockers, and now all your things are huge. Love it. Blue Sun Zenith, because it's my favorite blue instant. Absolutely. Of course I needed this card in here. Brainstorm, we're not going to like chat about this card a ton, but I do love me some Brainstorm, drawing me some cards. Cyclonic Rift, of course we do. Dig Through Time, a lot of these I'm running through because I run these cards in like all my commander decks, and there's really not a whole lot to say there. Dig Through Time, absolutely love this card. Dissolve for a little bit of counter magic. We have a couple things in here. I actually took a lot out of it because I wanted more acceleration. Ha ha ha. Factor Fiction. I love Factor Fiction. It's one of my personal favorite cards. Definitely like in my top 10 blue cards. You know, you separate 5 cards and you give your opponent the 5 cards to separate it into 2 piles and you pick whatever pile. I love this card. It's so incredibly cool. It always makes your opponents in such a challenging position, you know? Then I have Growth Spiral by the one, the only Seb McKinnon. Love this. This card is draw a card and you can put a land onto the battlefield. Just an additional land drop. It's cute. I like it. Mystical Tutor, because we got a tutor for instant sorceries. We've got a ton of really, really good options in here. So, got that card. Opt. Not a whole lot to say there. Rapid Hybridization, because we wanted a little bit of disruption. I also am realizing, too, that I don't have a spare Reality Shift in this deck. I need to pick that up. I just don't have an extra one, apparently. Sinister Sabotage. You counter target spell, then you get to Surveil 1. And the last one is Worldly Tutor, because we've got some cool creatures in here. What I like about Worldly Tutor, too, is like it's really great at any point of the game, because my early game, I'm probably going to get my like smaller thing that's going to help me mana accelerate, and then at later points of the game, I'm going to get my really big thing. And there are a couple of really cool big things in here. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is sorceries. I have 15 of those. Wow, it's funny. I haven't even split them into sorceries. That's really funny. I'm going to run through a lot of these because they're really not exciting. I have Cultivate, and very similar to that, I have Kodama's Reach. Curse of the Swine, it's also one of my favorite blue cards. I love this card. It is just so comedic. You are like, all your opponent's got their big Eldrazi, their big scary stuff, whatever, and then you just turn them into 2/2 boars. It's hilarious. I love this card. Fade into Antiquity, because this card is great. It is sorcery speed, however, you get to exile something. I find a lot of people have a ton of recursion, and Fade into Antiquity gets around that. This has been one of my favorite cards lately. I really enjoyed this card. It's called Flood of Recollection, not Flood of Reflection, because I like to call it that. It's not. It's Flood of Recollection. So, you can return target instant or sorcery from your graveyard to your hand, and then you exile it. There's really not like a whole lot to say here, but I really love getting back my like dig through time or something like that, or my treasure cruise, or something big, my counterspell. Nissa's Pilgrimage is really cool. It's pretty easy to get spell mastery in this off, but even if you don't, getting access to tutoring for some lands, having them ETB, it's the whole point, the whole name of the game. Ponder, similar to that. We've got Preordain, got to have a lot of these really cheap things to do. Rampant Growth, yep, not a whole lot to say there. Regrowth, I love Regrowth a lot. You can return anything you need. That creature that died, the counterspell that you need, the mana acceleration, the possibilities are endless with this card, and it's only 2 mana. Rite of Replication is probably one of the win conditions in here. There's a ton of really fun stuff to copy, and we'll talk about that when we get to the creatures, but I love Rite of Replication. I feel like this card is just so funny. It's one of the most expensive cards. Like, a lot of this deck actually has a pretty cheap CMC, and you also have to keep in mind, too, is we're mana accelerating. We're playing minimum 2 lands every turn. Probably 3, most likely 4. That'd be really cool. But anyways, you know, this is one of your high MCC things, but then doing this with any of your things, I'm gonna put this card aside because we'll talk about it, what we can do with it. Skyshard Claim is one of my personal favorite mana acceleration cards because you get 2 forests. You can get your breeding pool with this or whatever, and they do not enter the battlefield tapped, which is great. Yeah, it's 4 mana, but they enter the battlefield untapped. We love that for us. 3 visits. This card is really cool. You tutor for any forest, enters the battlefield. It does not enter the battlefield tapped. Love that. Treasure Cruise, because who doesn't want to pay 3 mana? I'm sorry, who doesn't want to pay 1 mana to draw 3 cards? And the last is Triumph of the Hordes, probably one of the win conditions because your things are really big. It is Sorcery, which is the only thing that's a slight bummer, but we do got that Alchemist Refuge in here. I don't have Vidalcanori or Leyland of Anticipation just because I didn't have extras of those. Shockingly, I think I gave Paul all of my extra Vidalcanoris because I bought a bunch of those foil ones, but anyways, card's good. Card kills people. Okay, creatures is up last but not least because they're the juiciest part. We've got 21. A lot of these creatures, they're very basic. The first up, we have Augur of Autumn. I love this card. You can look at the top card of your library anytime. I'm a sucker for knowing what's on top of my library. I just love that. So then I can play lands off of the top, which... hello, we love that. And if you control 3 or more creatures with different powers, you can cast creature spells. Now, here's what I will say with Augur of Autumn. In my experience with playing this card, and I literally own like 4 copies of this card, is that you're most likely just using it to play those additional lands. I've never actually used it for the second ability, but I think the powers are really easy to get because there's a ton of different like things with different powers, like she's 2. If you've got your commander, that's 5. You only need 1 other creature with a different power, which I feel like is really easy to do. Love this. Next up, we have Azusa. She's lost, but don't worry, she's seeking. Playing additional 2 lands on each of your turn is really cool. You already get your 1 land drop, and then you can play an additional, so now we're up to 3 land drops, and if we've got our commander, that's 4. Azusa is really, really cool. Sadly, we cannot get her with our Woodland Bellower because Woodland Bellower says non-legendary, which is a little bit of a sad day, but that's okay. We love Azusa. Okay, next up we have Coiling Oracle because I just think this card is cute. Reveal the top card of your library. If it's a land, put it on the battlefield. Otherwise, you put it into your hand. This card basically is a free land drop, or you get to draw that card. It's great. It's also only 2 mana for a 1/1. Very cheap. Courser of Krufix, because of course we have Courser in this deck. Of course we have Courser. That was a mouthful. Playing the land off the top of its land. We love that. You do play with the library revealed. Who cares? This is also a really good Woodland Bellower target. And when a land ETBs, you gain a life. You're going to be playing a lot of lands, so this is your little bit of life gain. Love that. I finally own a Cultivator Colossus. I bought it for this deck because I needed it. Was it expensive? Yes. Do I regret it? Absolutely not, because this card is dumb and is one of our win conditions. Because, this with Rite of Replication, come on, this card should be legendary. This is absolutely ridiculous. This card is 7 mana for a star. It's got trample. There we go. Power Tower, Sacred Dilemma lands you control. Yep, you're at least, this is at least going to be a 7/7, most likely bigger. When it enters the battlefield, you may put a land from your hand onto the battlefield tapped. If you do, draw a card and repeat this process. So this card can go off in insane ways. This with your commander is just the most ridiculous thing. Can we talk about that for a second? We're drawing cards, we're playing lands, and you can repeat this process. It's so good. I love this card. I cannot wait to draw it. I'm so excited. Or tutor for it, you know? Okay, this card I had laying around, and I was like, hey, why don't we throw this in this deck, because it's kind of a big card, you know, it's a 5-mana 6/6 with Vigilance, with Reach, and with Trample. When it attacks or blocks, you choose one. Well, it's got Vigilance, so you're going to get one of those effects if someone attacks you. You get a 3/3 Beast, you gain 3 life, or you draw a card. I think this card is so cool. I feel like it's very underutilized, and I don't feel like I see a lot of people play with it. And the times that I've had it, I've been very happy and pleasantly surprised with this. Also, this with Better Replication, let's just talk about that for a second. Eternal Witness. We don't have a ton of recursion. We've got this and the Regrowth and the Flood of Recollection, and I think that's it. But that's okay, you know. We've got some good targets for it, so love Eternal Witness. Farhaven Elf, not a whole lot to say here. We search your library for a basic, it enters battlefield tapped, and we're left with the 1/1. Speaking of tutors, as we mentioned a little bit ago, we've got Fierce Empath. I love Fierce Empath. ETBs, you get a creature with CMC 6 or greater. Oh my gosh, like that Cultivator Colossus that we just talked about. Now, the sad news is we can't get this because this has mana cost 5. But it's okay because Cultivator Colossus seems like a really, really great option for us. We do that, and then we're left with a 1/1. Frilled Mystic, just as an additional counter spell. I don't have a mana drain in this deck yet, but I had this laying around, and it's foil and pretty. And then you're left with a 3/2, and it counters anything. Love that for us. Green Warden of Marassa. I love Green Warden of Marassa. I consistently refer to this card as the double Eternal Witness, because when it enters the battlefield, you get a thing back to your hand, and when it dies, you have the option to exile it, because then if you do, you get to get something back again, and then you've got a 5/4. This, you can tutor with it. Or, sorry, you can tutor for it. This is a also new card to me, and that is Multani. Multani seems really, really cool. I've seen other people play with this card, but I've never personally played with it. It's 6 mana for a 0/0. Ha ha ha. Don't worry. It gets +1/+1 for each land you control and each land in your graveyard. Love that for us. It's also got Reach and Trample, and then just in case it dies, because it's probably gonna die, you can return 2 lands. And what I really like about this too is that the returning 2 lands, if you, just in case you're out of land drops, which I mean, how could you be out of land drops in this deck? It does happen, actually. It's a very sad time when it does. But if, just in case that happens, you can return 2 lands and you get this back to your hand, and you get those lands back to your hand. Now you can play those lands again to get your additional draw triggers. So, card's good. Oracle of Moldiah, absolutely 1000% needed to be in this deck because we need to play additional lands. We have to do it. It's the whole theme. Prime Speaker Zagana. Love this card. This card is becoming just one of my favorite Simic cards because it's great. It, you know, you draw cards, it gets bigger, you know, it's a great time all around for you, not for other people. You play this and your opponents are probably not really happy with you, but you're in a great position. Yeah, getting this card, you know, if at the very minimum you've got your commander out, like you don't have any of your other big cards that we just talked about, you know, getting to draw 6 cards is really cool. A lot of people forget that you do also get that 1/1. Like a lot of people forget that. Like they think, oh, I just get to draw 5 cards. No, you don't. You get to draw 6. Card's great. Sakura Tribe aka Steve, because, you know, of course we do. Solemn Simulacrum, aka Sad Robot. Wow, these guys are next to each other. Wow, look at that. Anyways, yep, draws cards, get to basics. It does all the things we need to do. Okay, we talked about win conditions. This is one of my favorite win conditions. This is also before I got Cultivator Colossus. I haven't Cultivator Colossus to anyone yet. I'll let you guys know after I do. The main thing with this is you write a replication this. Why is this card not legendary? I need someone to tell me. Okay, here's the deal. Is when you play this card, what I really love about this one is you return permanent to its owner's hand. So you can return lands. So here's the deal. Is you have this, you write a replication, you now have 6 of these. You play your, I don't know, really cheap spell, like your Sakura Tribe Elder. You play this, and then you bounce 6 things. Why is this a thing? Why is this something I can do in Magic? You do this, and I'm not gonna lie, your opponents are probably scooping. It just kind of depends. If you bounce their lands or their win conditions or their big creatures or whatever it is, and then you play more spells and you just bounce all the things, it's a silly combo. It's not an infinite combo. It's just a silly combo, and then it wins you the game. I love it. I almost took this card out, and I'm so incredibly glad that I did not, and that is Tireless Provisioner. Whenever a land ETBs, you get a food or a treasure. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm very often greedy, and I get treasures because, honestly, who cares about my life total? If I'm not at 0, do I really care? Probably not. Unless I'm like, actually, this is funny I'm saying this because one of my friends has a Rurik Thar deck, so I actually do have to care about my life total a little bit when I'm playing against that, because all my stuff, cost me 6 life. But anyways, or my what is it? It's non-creatures, I'm pretty sure. Anyways, getting those is really cool. I really like that it does give you the food because you do get that little bit of life gain. We've got some life gain in here, not a ton. We got like Corsair, Crewfix, but anyways, a lot of times I'm greedy and I just get the treasures because I just want to cast all my things. Like, you want to dump your hand, but then you replenish your hand. It's great. And then we have the OG Tireless, and that is Tireless Tracker. This guy came after. They're cousins, don't you know? That's made up. I made that up. Don't take that. Don't take that as stock. That's not true. Anyways, Tireless Tracker. I love Tireless Tracker. I remember like immediately seeing this and being like, I absolutely need to get one. I love this card. Land ETBs, you get to investigate. We get a clue. We love drawing cards. It's one of my favorite things to do. The sacking clues to make this bigger isn't like the biggest deal in the world. I have had decently big-ish Tireless Trackers before. I've probably had like, power like 5 or something like that. I haven't gotten this card to be anything ridiculous, but I do like the option when you've got nothing else going on to sack clues, and then it gets bigger. I have this super pretty Wood Elves. This is the 30th anniversary edition. How stunning is it? You can also get this. It's very cheap. It's like, this was like $1.50 or something crazy like that. Anyways, yep, not a whole lot to say here. We've talked about very similar cards in the deck. Search library for forest. It doesn't say basic. Love that. And we've been hinting at this all game. Woodland Bellower. Yup, my guy. Woodland Bellower. Card is great. It's a great card because after it does its thing, you're left with the 6/6, but at ETBs, you can search for that non-legendary. So let's talk about a couple of targets we have here that we can target because it's CMC 3 or less. Augur of Autumn. Wood Elves. Tireless Tracker. Tireless Provisioner. Steve. We can't get the Oracle. It's okay. My life will go on. Fierce Empath. Great target. Farhaven Elf. Eternal Witness. Corsair of Crewfix. We cannot get the Azusa. She's legendary. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We have 9 targets to target with our Woodland Bellower, and all of these seem really great. The probable preferred one is, depending on the circumstances, right? If you need life, we got the Corsair. If we need something back from our yard, we get the Ewit. If we need something big, we get the Fierce Empath. And then all these others, do very, very similar things. Playing additional lands, all that sort of stuff. So anyways, I love Woodland Bellower. I needed an excuse to play with this card because I had this laying around for my Yisan days. And I just really like it. It tutors for a thing, and then you're left with the 6/5. Love that for us. Cool. Guys, that is it for this deck. I really hope that you guys enjoy it. I think it's very silly. It draws you a ton of cards. You play a bunch of lands. It's a very basic, easy deck, but it's just really funny. It's so funny. I love it. So anyways, I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Go ahead and give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to our channel if you're not already, and I'll catch y'all on the next one.